Hello everybody, and welcome to this presentation. My name is Hannah Munro, and today we're going to talk about the research and science behind successful financial transformation projects. So you might be wondering, who am I? So firstly, I am Managing Director and Transformation Lead at ITAC. So we are a Sage business partner, Sage Intact Partner of the Year UK. I'm also, in my spare time, and because it's a bit of passion project for me, I am the host of CFO 4.0, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later, and also the Off Balance and Financial Transformation Live podcasts. I've spent over 10 years actually implementing different Sage software. I've worked with all sorts of industries, of businesses, and my passion is all about helping businesses transform their finance teams into this amazing, agile, proactive team of the future. In terms of my academic background, so I actually started in operations management, process design, process optimization. I've always had a passion for data analytics. And in the last few years, I've also understood that financial transformation is not just about technology. And so I undertook my studies in transformational leadership with the Chartered Management Institute as well, and I got my level 7. So if you're wondering where I come from a real mix of practical hands-on skills and also academic qualifications. So you'll see a little bit of everything in the slides I'm going to take you through now, and hopefully you will come away from it with some practical tips that you can implement. So in the next 15 minutes, hopefully I'm going to show you that you can be excited about your next financial transformation project rather than dreading it, that you will be in a position where you know exactly where the challenges are and how to avoid them and or mitigate any risks with your next financial transformation project. So what's on the agenda? So we're going to share some current statistics and, the latest statistics around financial transformation itself. We're going to talk through some of the common causes of project failures. And we're also then going to get right into what can you do as a leader of your next project to ensure that it's a success. Okay, you ready? Let's get started. So what is the current state of financial transformation? Okay, so what is exciting is that 85% of finance teams have identified that there's a massive opportunity for transformation, and they're actually planning it as we speak. 56% of companies are actually evaluating some really exciting technology around automation of accounting and finance. And 97% of CFOs are planning to accelerate their digital transformation technologies in 2021. So it's a really exciting time at the moment for both consultants working in financial transformation, but also finance teams to create that real shift away from the number cruncher and into that value add business partner. As you can see, though, the scary thing is that only 30% of financial transformation projects are deemed a success. Okay, and so what is it that we actually need to address? So why do 70% of projects fail, right? So the first thing we need to clarify is, what does fail mean? So fail means not achieving the original objectives for your financial transformation project. And the first question I will ask you is, how many of you have actually identified what those objectives are in a way that can be measured? Okay, so there is some good news though, and is that actually, surprise, it isn't the technology that is the big decision maker around how successful you are in terms of implementing financial transformation, which I think surprises a lot of people, because so much effort goes into requirements gathering, choosing the right software, and actually it's a factor. Of course, if you choose the wrong one, it's going to be detrimental, but actually it's not the only thing you need to have in place. And if you think about the amount of effort that goes into requirements planning versus the amount of effort that goes into planning and the change management around your financial transformation project, there is just a pause and a think, isn't there? Okay, so let's look at the common reasons for failure. Okay, so the first is a lack of clarity or urgency around your project objectives. So that first question I asked you about what do we mean by failure? If you haven't been clear about actually what you're trying to achieve with the project, then you're never going to know, firstly, whether it's a failure or whether it's a success. Okay. And the second piece as well is around ensuring urgency. So if you think about the shift that we've seen over the last 18 months in terms of digitization, in terms of the transformation to flexible remote working, that urgency and the requirement that everyone was aware of actually drove a huge amount of transformation. The next piece is around aiming for unachievable cost reduction goals. So there is there's some standard benchmarks in and around different industries around the cost of finance versus the overall profitability and or turnover of the organization. And I think one of the pieces that people need to understand is that actually, if your business is particularly complex, then using those benchmarks and aiming for those benchmarks is not necessarily the right thing to do. The third thing is the ultimate search for perfection in reporting. So the reality is that perfection is the enemy of time. And if one of your objectives as a business is to shift into that real-time visibility, that real-time insight across your organization, that quest for perfection and getting everything perfect the first time round is just going to lead you down a bit of a rabbit hole. So it's one of the biggest reasons for failure is that people are trying to make everything perfect rather than it just be good enough. And I'm a massive believer in an agile approach to financial transformation, because I do believe that if you're searching for that extra 2 pence or 2 cents difference in a report versus actually getting that report out to the business instantly or within a few hours versus a few weeks, for me that is a tangible impact and a tangible difference that's worth that sacrifice. The fourth one that we've got on the list is an over-reliance on external consultants, which you may think strange because actually we are a consultancy, we help businesses transform. But one of the pieces that I'm very passionate about is actually enabling finance teams to drive transformation themselves, both in terms of process and capabilities, reporting and technology. And actually by an over-reliance on consultants during the process and not engaging your team, you basically miss a massive opportunity to ensure that the solutions put forward are fit for purpose, and also building that capability within your team, because this transformation process is going to become less of a project and more of a way of life. And that's how we should be thinking about financial transformation. It's an ongoing, never-ending quest to get ourselves away from that administration and into value add as a finance team. So that's something to consider. Next one is not, and I think this is where a lot of projects go wrong, is not adjusting your output expectations during big parts of the project. So for example, if you're expecting your team to, you're already highly busy and, potentially overworked team to achieve exactly the same as they did in a standard week or a standard month and plus get live with a new system, you are setting them up for failure. So, and last but not least is the focus on doing everything at once, trying to do too much too fast. So just think of it like going to the gym, right? You're not going to go and pick the heaviest weight in the room and start picking it up. No. Well, some people on this call might, but I certainly wouldn't. So I'd pick the ones that I knew I could pick up, that I could do so easily and get my muscles nice and warm and or build those muscles so that when I come in next time, I can pick up those bigger weights. And the same principle applies here. Imagine going into a financial transformation with clarity over, firstly, what you're going to achieve. Yep, a realistic time frame. Imagine going through that project knowing that actually what you're doing is going to deliver, that your team are engaged, that they're motivated, and they're excited about this project. And that is the ultimate goal, right? This is where we want to achieve, because your team need to come on this journey with you. So how do we set ourselves up for success? And how do we deliver on this financial transformation vision? So firstly, clearly articulate your purpose. Now, anyone that's done any kind of change management will know, Kotter's, all of those kind of theorems, you have to have clarity of vision. And I do believe it's the same for financial transformation. Why are we doing this? What is driving this? How important is this to the business? How important is it to an individual in terms of their role as well? So I do think you need, personally, I think you need to break that vision and that clarity and purpose into both an organizational view of your finance team and why you need to do this and why you need to deliver, but also making sure each member of your project and your transformation team is clear on that on an individual level, and they know what their impact is on this project, their purpose, and their value to this as well. The next thing is, we all know that financial transformation is challenging. Hopefully that's why you're listening to this presentation. In the first place is you recognize that there's a skill to financial transformation. And the biggest skill is understanding what is the problem that you are actually solving. Okay. So making sure that you've actually understood what is the challenge you are addressing. Yeah. And that clarity of what is the problem that you are going to solve will then allow you to prioritize functionality, to be clear on what is the challenge you're addressing, and not allow your team to get distracted with something that is less important, because it is so easy to get bogged down in the minutiae of process and technology, and actually having a clarity of what is the problem we're trying to solve, what is it that we're trying to achieve, will allow you then to make good decisions as you go throughout the process and make sure that you're clear on what you're delivering. Why are we actually making this transition in terms of what impact is this going to have on the business, right? So making sure that whatever goals that you are setting, whatever objectives you are setting for this transformation project is more than just we are going to cut a number of heads or FTEs, yeah? What is the added value that finance team will be able to bring when those FTEs are available and able to shift into more strategic roles? And that is a hard conversation to have. And it really takes a leader with a vision, with passion, and an understanding of the strategic value of finance to articulate that. And that's what's come across in a lot of the research. So next up, plan your phases. Okay, so again, we talked about big bang approach, and let's be honest, right? Big bang doesn't work. Okay, people are motivated by success. So by creating small wins, by creating small successes as you go through the project, by hitting milestones on time, you're creating an environment in which your team are winning, and that there's a momentum that's generated behind your financial transformation effort. Now, what that means though is you need to carefully plan out your phases. Make sure you've understood any dependencies. Yeah. If something needs to be in a certain phase to allow the next phase to happen, you need to have understood that. And that's where your technical consultants can come in to give you advice. So a clarity of phasing, you know exactly what you're going to deliver or need to deliver within certain timeframes. You now need to create space for your teams to actually deliver on that project. Now, creating space can be, the question you need to ask yourselves is, what are you going to stop doing to allow you to focus on the implementation? Now, that could be that you bring in external resource to pick up the administration or the data entry side of somebody's role so that they can focus on this project. Like I said earlier, please don't overly focus on external consultants. You need your team to have the capacity to think through processes, to go on this journey, and to be available and able to make decisions around how the functionality is going to work, and expecting them to go on this journey and throughout this journey be working extra hours, late nights, weekends is just not it's not practical, because they will do it. Okay, so building internal skills. So there is no substitute for internal involvement in a project. And actually, you are 1.5 times more likely to achieve your objectives if you have your internal team heavily involved in your project. And transformation is a journey. I keep saying this, and I will keep saying this because it's really important. But it's a mindset. It's not a fixed end date. We're not going to get 6 months down and I go, oh, we've achieved everything. It's going to be an ongoing process. So by building these transformational skills, by building these processes, this agility into the way that your team work, this ability to pick up new technology, to implement changes to processes, to work in this agile and an iterative way, will then allow your team to continue that ongoing. Yeah. So it's all about building those skills. And actually, if they are developing along with your software and your processes, that's a huge motivating factor. So you not only have a more skillful team, you have a more engaged and impactful one as well. So win-win. So make sure you're building the skills internally. And I did talk about this earlier, but that strive for perfection. Yep. So you need to basically decide what is good enough, how good is good enough, and make the correct trade-offs between data perfection or accuracy and the speed of decision support. And the last thing I think is really important with any, particularly when it comes to technology, is there is always a tendency, I find, to think about just replacing your existing processes. Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes you can make with any implementation. And actually, you need to think of this as an opportunity to rethink your processes, rethink the way that your AR works, rethink the way that you work with your suppliers, and create the new normal rather than trying to lift and shift what you've already got into an auto. Okay. So hopefully you found this interesting. Hopefully you learned something from either the common mistakes or some ways to address those mistakes. And if you did find it interesting and you'd like to find out more about ITAS and some of the work I do around financial transformation, then there's a couple of options for you. You can listen to our CFO 4.0 podcast or join our monthly briefing, which is available at www.itassolutions.co.uk. Jump onto our website. We have a huge amount of content, and literally, if I sat here and told you about everything, then you would be there for days. But we're always bringing out new content and new trends, and we've even just launched a success guide for newer CFOs on our website. So please do jump on and have a look at that. We will be launching this month our Financial Transformation Live, and I would love for you to join us. There is a sign up link on the website that you can find, and that is live FAQs around financial transformation and getting into the nitty gritty of how that works. So we're going to pick a topic. You guys can ask as many questions as you like, and we're basically going to go through this journey together. So share best practice, share ideas as a community, and bring financial transformation to life. So again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Would love to hear your thoughts and feedback on this. My contact details are there and available. So my email, and of course, please do connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. And I'd love to hear your tips and your ideas for success, what you've known has worked. And again, it's all just feedback into this amazing community that we have here at Sage Transform. So thank you again for joining me. Have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye.